For most Americans, life used to feel stable, not luxurious but predictable. One income could support a family, mortgages felt achievable, and a regular job could slowly build a decent life. But over the last few decades, that version of the American middle class quietly started disappearing. Today, millions of Americans make more money than previous generations, yet somehow feel poorer, more anxious, and financially trapped. A person earning $80,000 to $100,000 a year now often struggles with rent, debt, healthcare costs, and savings in ways that would have sounded unbelievable decades ago. The most confusing part is that many people followed all the rules they were taught growing up. They went to college, worked hard, stayed loyal to companies, and tried to save responsibly. But while people kept following the old blueprint for success, the economy itself changed completely. Housing prices exploded faster than wages. Healthcare and education became dramatically more expensive. Inflation slowly reduced purchasing power. At the same time, corporations became more profitable, while workers often received smaller pieces of that growth. The result is a middle class that works harder than ever before while feeling less secure than ever before. This financial pressure created a huge psychological shift in American society. People no longer feel confident about the future. Many delay marriage, children, buying homes, or investing because financially they feel unstable. Social media made this even worse because people constantly compare lifestyles online while secretly struggling behind the scenes. Someone may appear successful with a nice apartment, vacations, and a new car, but privately they may be drowning in debt and living paycheck to paycheck. Modern consumer culture encourages people to buy status symbols because looking successful emotionally feels safer than admitting financial stress. At the same time, the economy increasingly rewards ownership instead of labor. In the past, a stable paycheck alone could slowly create wealth. Today, real wealth often comes from owning assets like stocks, businesses, and real estate. While many middle-class workers focused entirely on salaries, asset owners benefited massively from rising markets and inflation. This created a widening gap between people living only from paychecks and people whose investments quietly grew in value every year. Many Americans were never taught this shift, so they kept relying on hard work, while the financial system itself evolved into something very different. This is why conversations about housing, debt, inflation, and salaries now feel so emotional across America. Underneath all the anger is one simple desire: stability. Most middle-class Americans are not asking to become rich overnight. They simply want the feeling that one medical emergency, layoff, or economic downturn will not destroy their future. But for many families today, that feeling of security has become harder and harder to find. And that's what makes the decline of the American middle class feel so shocking. It didn't collapse in one moment. It slowly weakened over time until millions of ordinary people realized the American dream no longer feels guaranteed.
The collapse of the American middle class became even worse once housing started transforming from basic shelter into a financial asset. Decades ago, homes were mainly places for families to live and slowly build stability. Today, housing has become one of the biggest wealth generation tools in America. Investors, corporations, and wealthy individuals began buying massive amounts of property while home prices rose far faster than normal salaries. As a result, millions of middle-class Americans who once expected to own homes are now trapped renting indefinitely. In many cities, even people with decent careers can no longer comfortably afford down payments or mortgage payments without taking huge financial risks. This housing crisis created a dangerous emotional effect on younger generations. In previous decades, buying a home symbolized adulthood, stability, and long-term progress. But now, many people feel like they are permanently locked out of that milestone. Some continue living with parents longer. Others move to cheaper states away from family opportunities. Many simply give up on ownership entirely. And psychologically, when people stop believing they can build long-term stability, they also stop feeling connected to the future. That emotional disconnect quietly affects motivation, relationships, confidence, and mental health across society. At the same time, debt became deeply normalized in modern America. Student loans, car payments, credit cards, personal loans, and buy now, pay later systems slowly became part of everyday life. Instead of solving financial problems, many Americans simply learned how to manage monthly payments forever. This created the illusion that people could afford lifestyles they technically could not afford. Expensive cars, luxury apartments, vacations, and online lifestyles became easier to access through financing. But behind the scenes, millions of people became financially fragile because one job loss or emergency could suddenly collapse the entire system holding their lives together. Corporations also changed dramatically during this period. Many companies shifted focus toward maximizing shareholder profits above everything else. Layoffs became more common even during profitable years. Worker loyalty became less valuable. Automation and technology reduced job security in many industries. At the same time, wages often failed to keep up with rising living costs. This created a strange modern reality where workers became more productive while still feeling financially stuck. Many Americans now work longer hours, answer emails after work, and remain constantly available digitally, yet still feel like they are barely moving forward financially. Inflation made all of this feel even more intense. Everyday necessities like groceries, insurance, rent, childcare, and healthcare became dramatically more expensive. Even when salaries increased, the actual buying power of those salaries often declined. This is why many middle-class families feel financially exhausted, despite technically earning more money than previous generations. The problem is not only income anymore. The problem is the speed at which the cost of modern life keeps rising. A family earning six figures today may still feel stressed in ways that middle-class families decades ago did not experience at the same level. Social media amplified this pressure even further. Americans are now constantly exposed to curated lifestyles, showing luxury, success, entrepreneurship, and wealth. This creates a powerful psychological trap where people feel behind even when they are doing relatively okay financially. Many people continue spending aggressively, not because they are financially secure, but because they fear appearing unsuccessful. Consumer culture increasingly sells emotional validation instead of practical necessity. People buy products to feel respected, admired, or socially accepted, and corporations understand this behavior extremely well. Meanwhile, wealth inequality became more visible than ever before. Asset owners benefited massively from rising stock markets, real estate appreciation, and business ownership, while ordinary workers depended mainly on salaries. The rich were not simply earning more income, their assets were multiplying in value automatically over time. This created a growing divide between people building wealth passively and people surviving entirely through labor. Many middle-class Americans slowly realized that working hard alone no longer guarantees financial progress in the way previous generations believed it would. This realization created frustration, distrust, and emotional exhaustion across the country. More Americans began questioning whether the system itself still works for ordinary people. The American dream once represented upward mobility through discipline and consistency, but now, for many middle-class families, it feels like the rules changed halfway through the game. And as financial pressure continues rising, millions of people are starting to wonder whether the middle class is shrinking permanently rather than temporarily struggling through a difficult economic period.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep financial documentaries and money psychology breakdowns right here on Andrew Finance.